Reporting live from Houston, Texas, George Salas. How's it going, man? Good to get connected with you, bro.
Hey man, I appreciate it, brother. Just wonderful here. It's very hot out here. I think like 95 degrees or somewhere around there, man. Beautiful day. Happy
Love
to
it,
be
yeah.
here.
Love it, man. Happy to have you on. And I know that you're with Tim Mai, really, really good guy. He's got some awesome just colleagues, associates, real estate coaches that want to help people. So I'm happy that we got connected through him. I'm I'm on the road right now in Asheville, North Carolina. So my internet may be a little choppy, but I think we'll be good because I did an interview earlier this week. But guys, George is a master at Airbnbs. I had heard of him through a mutual friend, have heard nothing but good things about him the last couple of years. So I was excited for the opportunity to chat with him, bring you guys a lot of value and a little bit change because most of our listeners are doing wholesaling, fix and flip, maybe some little bit of creative finance stuff. And you have a few different Airbnb strategies, either arbitrage or really just having any property that you own outright and Airbnb that, and then also some short-term rentals. He has an awesome story as well as far as coming to the United States, getting started in real estate after some other entrepreneurial ventures. So I guess first, George, if you would so kindly, tell me everything that you have going on now, and then we can go back and talk about your entrepreneurial journey before real estate investing, coaching, everything like that.
Let's make it happen, Lo. So currently, right now, we are at about 40 plus short-term rentals. We're in the middle of a transition from going from about 50-50 on the portfolio of apartments and houses. So it's about 20 something each. And we're getting rid of all of our houses and going into the fully single family residential on short-term rentals. And the reason for that, it's because it's such a much better business model, right? 10 times better in every single way. So we've got about 40 plus short-term rentals. We have, a group of students for about 35 right now who we actually teach, and obviously growing. So we're coaching and mentoring. And then we also have, the opportunity to joint venture with some of our students. So we're doing the model, we're purchasing, and we are also renting. So doing short-term rentals without owning any property, right? And then joint venturing with the management aspects. So our core business is our property management company who manages all of our Airbnbs, and the Airbnbs are in different LLCs set up. Some we own, which would be set up in their own LLC, and there are some that are leases, which are also managed by our property management company, and then that's what we base it off. So yeah, that's pretty much it, brother.
Perfect, man. Yeah, and we're gonna dive deep, guys, or definitely touch on why George thinks this is a better business model of what he's been transitioning into what he outlined here as far as short-term rentals. Awesome, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about your background, man. How did you get started as an entrepreneur, even before real estate, and kind of like your story, really?
Absolutely, man. So I came here to the United States back in 2000, to be honest. But my journey started when I was 6. I was born in 1984 in Peru, just a little small town. And I was born in a very small town called Tarapoto, but we went to live in the capital. So when I was 6 is when pretty much everything, got started for my journey. So I was sitting in the living room with my family, and my mom actually brought me over to a secluded area, and she said, "Hey, you and your brother are going to come with me. We're going to go visit grandma." And grandma was in this small town, right? And without knowingly, my parents were actually getting a divorce, right? So with them getting a divorce, I had no idea. So we left, didn't get to say bye to my dad. And all of a sudden, 9 years go by, and I haven't seen my father for 9 years, and he comes back into my life, right? So at the age of 15, my mom is actually working on remarrying, right? So she remarries, and that's how we moved here to the United States. Okay, in say 2000, right? So she remarries, and I actually get to see my dad. It was 9 years since I saw him. Then I'd see him again for a few months, and then all of a sudden we're gone again. Okay, so then here went to school, high school, not knowing any English or whatnot. And then my journey was through soccer. I was a fan of soccer, so I played soccer all through high school. Then went on to Yeah, so big time. And I actually we played all, was first team all district, and actually went to nationals one time. So it was a very, very awesome experience, you know. And then there in nationals in college, I had the dream of playing soccer, but I wasn't able to fulfill it because I had to work. That's when, hey, you know, here's an entrepreneur with the poor parents, you know, and my mom was actually getting a divorce at the same time, you know, so it was sort of dark years for me because I had got kicked out of my stepdad's house, and you know, and I was out there 19 years old. Since my stepdad and mom divorced, you know, the whole thing ended. So I'm here 19 years old on a journey. That's not that young, but to have, you know, your mom going to, you know, separating from your dad and us having to be able to live on our own was kind of tough at that age because we were just, you know, fresh off the plane, like they say. Right. So from there, I went to work on to, you know, several restaurants and bars. And then I started promoting nightclubs. So I was a nightclub promoter for 10 years from the age of 23 until about 32. Okay, so I know thousands of dozens of thousands of people here in Houston, and that's how I developed myself. And I was able to come out of the shelf and be less shy because I was very shy. And then at the age of 33, I invested into a nightclub, right? And while I was in that journey, I had invested into a nightclub as an investor and as a marketer. So someone else operated it. And about a year and a half later, we ended up shutting down. I lost $400,000 that I invested. And I was sitting in the living room of my apartment at the time, and I didn't know what to do, right? I was like, hey, what am I going to do with my life? I just 7 years of saving everything, and, you know, we invested in our first business, and I lost everything. This is when I get a phone call from a buddy of mine, Brent Franklin, here, and he says, come to my flip. Okay, so I go to his flip. He has about 10 people there. So he shows us every step and pretty much builds a vision for us of what real estate could do for you, right? And for about 3 hours, nails it down. So when I walk out of there, this is in the middle of 2017, right? I'm talking about right after the hurricane happened. Hurricane Harvey hit us. Boom. This is when I discovered my journey, you know, when I figured out what I really want to do and how I'm going to do it. So I go study, get into courses, seminars, reading a bunch of books. So for 4 months, I dedicated myself to nonstop study. And I closed my first real estate deal as a flip in 2018. So it's like February of 18. You know, I remember the date, February 7th. Then from there on, we went to build a mini empire. We've done about 80 transactions in real estate. That includes fix and flips, a couple under finance, a bunch of wholesale deals. And then I converted some of those into AirBNBs. I got a bunch of leases with that wholesale money on that summer. You know, and towards the end of 2018, I had already 20 short-term rental apartments in my portfolio. And then from there, I figured out that STR was the way to go, right? And I love the model. You could actually get cash flow, and I didn't have to wait 2 months to close a deal and just be on that, you know, on that cash strap, right? So this is how I started growing the business. And from there, we went to adding one after another. Right. So by the summer of 19, we had about 27 short-term rentals. And I figured out that I should actually go into the house market. So I got my first house short-term rental from one of my fix and flips. And I turned that one into an Airbnb. Then later that summer, July of 19, again, another one, and then another one. And then right now we are at 20 houses, and we just brought in about $150,000 last month in that business. That's rental income per se, and I've got an amazing group of friends. I'm in the best time of my life, in the best shape that I've been. You know, I'm happy, and I've got great friends, great network, and I'm just happy to be here. And I get to hang out with people like you, brother.
That's what it's all about, man. I'm super impressed, not only from the timeline of how short relatively that you've been in real estate, the success that you have, 6 figures a month coming in May 2021. I saw it was 150K before we got live on this interview here. Coming to another country, I'm assuming didn't know English, at least fully. Coming here, you know, everybody kind of goes through stuff on their life journey as far as ups and downs, and life is very seasonal as far as experiencing hardships. And then the successful people are able to take those hardships, kind of pull that back like a catapult and put that into success. Even having the $410,000 to invest in the nightclub at such a young age and becoming successful there. So many, many impressive things, man. I'm massively happy for you and rooting for your success. There's a lot of stuff that we can break down here. One of those is how you went from fix and flipping to Airbnb and holding those, that what you just mentioned. Before we go into that, do you want to kind of break down your overall strategy with short-term rentals, Airbnb, everything like that, as like a basic understanding for those listening?
Absolutely. So first of all, we focus currently on the three models, right? There are three models. When you do short-term rentals, this business is for any real estate investor and pretty much for anyone who wants to start off with cash flow, right? You could do short-term rentals with any kind of property. This is a house, an apartment, a garage, a high-rise, a condo, a townhouse. So our strategy focuses on houses, and there are three methods, right? Where you actually buy. So we purchase through fixing, rehabbing, and refinancing, the BRRRR method, right? So we do that. We also use creative finance strategies such as subject to. So we acquire the property and exit Airbnb and short-term rentals, right? Also, we essentially go out on the market and reach out to landlords and partner with them, as in we are their professional tenant and we rent the property from them. So we're actually creating $8,000 to $10,000 a month in cash flow from avenues where we're purchasing, putting some amount of good cash, rehabbing the property, gaining equity. So taking the equity position, right? We are putting less cash on properties that we purchase through subject to. And then we're putting, I would say about the same amount of cash, 20 grand on average for 20 to 25 for an arbitrage deal, right? So an arbitrage that we rent, we get permission from these landlords who are most of the time just relationship based. So we base a relationship, and this is where real estate, we know how to speak to them, and we pretty much tell them what they are concerned more about when renting their property to a short-term rental operator, right? And then the third strategy is joint venturing on the real estate and the management side with our students. Okay, we've also done the same deal with some investor partners. We've sort of limited that a little bit because it's a lot of work. So we focus on the students now. So what we do is we partner on the real estate, and on the back end, our company manages, right? So if a student that doesn't have time and just wants to learn the strategy part of the business, right? They come in and essentially put up their cash and credit, and then they act as they learn the strategy. And on that first deal, if they want, it's a choice, right? If they want to partner, it's there, right? So we teach them from the ground. So they come in to basically the position of a partner, and then they watch all of these steps happening from the acquisition of the property to the negotiation, the closing, and then after that, the staging of it, the creation, the purchases, the visits that we have to make to the property from my team, and then how we're designing it. And then they get to watch the launch of each listing, right? So when we launch, and then how do we, systematize the entire property to bring in this 8 to 10,000. And I say 8 to 10,000 because that's our average. We have some properties that do like 15K a month, which is insane, right? These are $300,000 houses, median houses. And we have some properties that do 10 to 12. And we also have some properties that do 5, 6, 7, and 8. They're smaller, 1,200 square feet. Yeah, that's pretty much a breakdown of what we're currently doing and how our models work. Did that get you a fair understanding of what we're doing currently, Trevor?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You guys are able to monetize, monetize a lot of different type of situations. What's kind of coming to mind with me, we've had some Airbnb experts on the show as well, but the arbitrage model where you're essentially that's where you're signing the lease as a tenant, right? And then you're pretty much subletting that out. That's kind of the closest thing to wholesaling a property. That's almost like the wholesaling for short-term rentals, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Kind of like safest, easiest strategy, least amount of like your own money out of pocket.
Well, I would say that's the start for someone that wants to have their own Airbnb. Now, the third strategy is the management, right? Which we do, but it's a combination. So if you talk about the wholesaling of real estate for short-term rentals, yes, rental arbitrage is if you want to do your own wholesale deals, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're bird dogging for somebody, or if you're learning, or let me make a better example. If you are essentially doing acquisitions for a wholesale company, that would be your management, right? So management takes absolutely no money, right? And you can actually get into the system and plugged into the system with other hosts and other investors, and essentially be their second in command, right? Even if it's a partner or an investor, a rehabber partner or a wholesaler partner that doesn't have the time. We're actually partnering up with a guy in Arizona and a guy in Houston to launch a fund where these are going to be my partners, and they're going to be bringing us the properties, and the other guy's going to be bringing us the capital. So just a little bit of context on how we understand rental arbitrage and what other strategies we could use, right?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And in my opinion, in general, that's the best ways to learn a business or really anything in life, where some of the more difficult or more time intensive or work intensive, labor intensive stuff, you have partners or coaches to help you out. And then you're kind of just getting, your feet wet, maybe doing some deal hunting, whatever. Most people listening to this are already doing their own wholesale deals. So I kind of want to talk about benefits and maybe how somebody can get into this that's already doing their own marketing, they're texting and cold calling for discounted real estate, and why short-term rentals and how they have been for you as well. We can maybe talk about some deals that you've done. And I know that you're a guy that you've already mentioned. You've talked about you're in the best shape of your life right now. You're doing things in your day-to-day that you love. That's why everybody gets into business for the most part. So I'd love to hear kind of that. I would love you to paint a picture with that kind of stroke to it of how people that are pretty much just doing like wholesale assignment type deals could benefit from holding on to these and doing short-term, rental stuff.
Let's do it, man. I think that getting a fee for a property as a one-time is great, but turning it around and even using their wholesale fee to create cash flow is a smart move. So for example, what I was doing is I took, in 2018, we took 3 wholesale deals, and this was my best wholesaling month ever. We made 62 grand. Over half of that I used to get to my portfolio, to start building a portfolio, right? So I always tell my wholesaler students, because we have wholesaler students, let's work on your marketing. And I think that if you focus on finding, instead of trying to just wholesale, open the picture of grabbing this house and convincing the seller to maybe let you take over the mortgage, which is subject to, right? Take over the payments, I'm sorry. And once you take over the payments, HOA and taxes, then now you have a property to play with. It might be maybe $5,000 you have to put up, or sometimes zero, right? So open up and change your marketing a little bit is what I would suggest to my wholesaler friends, and then see the opportunity to take these properties down through subject to. It could get you into the cash flow game, because $5,000 is a wholesale fee, $10,000, even 20 is great. But if you could take a percentage of that portfolio and then make it cash flow for you for life, 5 of these houses could give you financial freedom. 5, right? Maybe 3. I call it, 5 to freedom. So 5 because you can take any house that's 1,200, 13, 1,500, 1,700 square feet, which are the best, the sweetest wholesale deals, right? Under 200,000, and take 5 of those, cash flow 2 to 3 grand a piece, and then have a $10,000 consistent minimum. And I'm talking about just a minimum consistent cash flow every month. If you just use the strategy to sort of take that direction, change your marketing, and convert these properties to Airbnb.
Amazing. And I love the emphasis that you have on marketing with the nightclub success. I know that you're a marketer through and through. So I love that. I kind of want to talk a little bit about, some people try to get into Airbnbs and may not have success. What's kind of like if you have kind of like a few key points of like what makes somebody successful, and maybe like common failures that you see, because you have good insight from working with students. It's not just your own business. You get to work with a lot of students and things like that. So do you have any type of feedback on like what makes people successful, and maybe some failures, commonalities that you see with Airbnb entrepreneurs, short-term entrepreneurs?
Right. Absolutely, Lo. So When somebody asks me this question, I tell them there's 5 key elements that you need to make sure that you think of, and always make sure that this is your strategy, right? This is your pillars of success. Under those 5 are all the details, but I'm going to tell you the 5. Okay. The first one is your market. So you have to understand what market you're in. You have to be able to analyze and learn the market, see what's the supply, see how much demand there is, see what the price per square foot of these properties are. So if you're going into a neighborhood and you're trying to figure out if you're going to do an STR, you got to analyze that real estate market and how it compares to your short-term rental market. Because the big cash, or the big chabang, what you say, right, here is the margins, right? So if you find a market that offers you high short-term rental revenue, and then you find properties that are going to cost you very low per square foot, right? And they're regular sizes, that gap is what I call the sweet spot. And it's a proprietary technique that I've developed, and it's a formula, and essentially I put it in my spreadsheet, and this is how I find out. And with that market, right, with understanding your market comes pillar number 2. Pillar number 2 is your property. Like, what type of property are you getting into, right? Is it renovated or is it outdated, right? Does it have the right amenities or does it not? Does it have a large backyard, an outdoor kitchen to where you can add value to this property, right? Because apartments can't add value. It's just an apartment. You have the carpet, the kitchen, that's it. Houses, you have a whole nother, area where you can essentially spend the same amount that you spent in the inside of the house to create value. And this is where the value comes, right? This is where people are paying you $1,000 to $1,500 a night, like they do in our properties. So your second pillar is your property and the amenities. Your third pillar is your design, how you design these properties and what amenities you put in there. But these are content amenities, right? And this could be, your kitchen appliances, not the major appliances, but just the small ones, right? How many beds you have, how many people you're sleeping, and what type of linens you're using, what amenities you have on the outdoor, right? And what colors you're putting into your property that are going to be attention calling and make your fourth pillar be that key pillar, right? If you have these 3 lined up, you've done the work prior, right? And if you have the 4th pillar lined up, which is going to be your marketing, right? And inside your marketing, there are 3 components that are extremely important. The first one is essentially your listing strategy. The second one is going to be your pricing strategy. And the third one is going to be your booking strategy. If you have the knowledge, and this is where most people get stuck, right? They can find a property, they guess the income, and they guess it's going to do well. They could see it has a pool, right? And then they figure out this property is good to go. They hire a professional designer. They put a bunch of nice stuff in there. That works. But when it comes to listing it and pricing it and getting it booked to a higher percentage, that's, occupancy rate, that's going to give you the actual amount of cash flow you want, and making that entire thing look beautiful, be strategic on the pricing, be strategic on your titles, the description, and your photos. That's where people get stuck, and that's where the details fall, right? That's where I would say the roadblock for most people like yourself, and even myself when I got started, right? So you have pillar number 1. You first have to understand your market. Pillar number 2, you have to know that the property is good for Airbnb. It could be any property. You just have to make sure that you add a certain few things in there, that you have some parameters, and you have a property buy box or rent box, right? Then 3 is your design, 4 is your marketing, with 4 being one of the most important. And number 5 is your guest experience, right? But this could be outsourced, right? So with the guest experience comes your management, and you can outsource a property management company. But if you've set up the first 4 pillars correctly, then you're going to have success, whether you're a terrible property manager or you are managing yourself or you're hiring someone to manage it. It doesn't matter, right? You're still going to have most of the success, but you're going to miss out on certain money. As long as you have these four, and these four come before you launch the listing. What most real estate investors and Airbnb hosts don't know is that you have to be the most precise and put the most effort before you launch it. It's kind of like 80-20 Pareto principle. 80% of your results are going to come from the first basically 4 panels, right? In this case, 20, most people don't do that. They don't do it. They think that, oh, because this property's cool, I'm going to list it, it's going to make a lot of money, but they're not planning it right? So another thing I would say that it kind of gets real estate investors stuck, and maybe Airbnb hosts stuck, is that they get confused and lost in the details, right? So I would say go out there, try. You can still win even if you don't have these 4 right, but you're going to be on the verge. So that's the beauty about short-term rentals. This market is so amazing that even if you suck at everything, you can still make $500 with your house, or maybe $1,000. But if you're good, then you can make $5,000. You can make $8,000 cash flow with that one house every single month. And that's how you build financial freedom, right? With 3, 4, 5 properties. So I hope that helps, brother.
Amazing, man. Guys, check out the link in the description of this episode, thenewrealestateinvestor.com. That's George's Facebook group. That's where you can kind of dive in. He's putting out content, not only Airbnb and short-term rental strategy, but mindset, everything, because there's a lot to unpack here. I'm also going to have to get some type of, if it's not in the Facebook group, some type of maybe like presentation, case studies of any deals that you put together, because we're going through a lot of stuff that's free for you guys right now that I know Airbnb people sell as courses and everything like that. So it's a lot to unpack. I know you guys may have to go back and rewind a little bit, but this is amazing, amazing stuff. One thing that's coming up for thought for me, George, is just the end product of a short-term rental is a lot different than wholesaling a property to another investor that's going to fix and flip it. It's kind of just straight, it's straight numbers when you're wholesaling and you have a relationship with your buyers, of course, but this is really like an experience and like a review-based business is the end thing. So it's just, that's what came up, it's been thought for me that it's interesting. Is there anything that you want to touch on in addition to kind of those 5 pillars that you went through for Airbnb, short-term, everything like that?
I would say, even if you don't understand, guys, all the pillars and you have a property, just go do it, but get with somebody that has done it so they can teach you these small little, because it's only a tweak, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, tweak this, do that. Tweak this, do that. Then don't change this. It's that simple. And you can double your income with that. Now, there are also strategies that you could do, such as upgrading your listing if you didn't do it correctly the first time, and that costs money. But I'm talking about the marketing is just a tweak. Pictures cost like $200, right? So don't get caught up with the details, guys. You do have to be precise if you want to kill it, but you can also do good and be happy with it, right? So don't get stuck with, hey, I might not make what I need to make, but as long you're going to be cash flow positive, you just have to understand some of these terms at a basic level to be somewhat successful and make some sort of cash flow. And that's the beauty about STR. You can make $500 with just being below average, right, a month in any of your properties, because in long-term rentals you can make maybe max $500, right, maybe $600. So that's one big pro that I love about STR. So
a big part of I was gonna say a big part of what George is talking about is kind of just taking something I'm definitely working on myself in general, is just taking massive imperfect action. You could probably sit here all day and maybe link with George, which we're going to tell you how to do here in a minute, how to comp out properties and look at different ways to set up, like value add stuff to your properties. But really you just have to get out there and take massive imperfect action, and you kind of learn along the way. There's not really anything in life that you can get by without some trial and error and just getting into it there. So I love that you're saying that. What is the best place for people to kind of learn what you have going on in coaching in addition to the Facebook group, man? Because you got a lot of knowledge and a lot of success. And like I said, I'm impressed by the timeline, because I think it was just 2017, 2018 that you got into real estate in general. Now you're $150K a month. in income, man. That's amazing.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Los, I want to tell everybody out there that definitely what you're saying is 100% right. Believing is going to get you 90% there. The other stuff, it's 10%, right? And it's always going to happen no matter what you do in any business. If you want to go small, go small. If you want to go big, go big. But you have 10% that's going to be that journey. And that 10%, all you need to do is fall in love with the journey, and at some point it will go up, really up the hill, right? I fell in love with the journey. I went through a lot of obstacles, even in this 3 short years. My first short-term rental deposit was August 1st. With my birthday, August 6th, I was like, yeah, my first birthday, right? It hasn't even been 3 years, right? But we've got everything dialed in. And just to share with everybody out there, it's just get started, guys. Just go do it. Don't wait. And a place for everybody to reach out to me could be my website too. Like I've got a lot of my stuff out there, my YouTube channel and all my social medias. And it's georgesalas360.com, which is GEORGESALAS, the number 360.com. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and, get on a chat, and if you're serious about getting to 5, 6, 7 figures in this business, yeah, just give me a call.
Appreciate that, brother. And man, I want to talk a little bit about mindset, which you said 90% of it beliefs, 10% is the mechanic. That is a very similar commonality, or at least way that people describe super successful people in life and business describe that. What does the rest of your year kind of look like as far as goals and intention for business, coach, and everything like that? I know that we spoke a little bit before we went live here, but I would love to hear kind of like your goals and intentions moving forward. And then one thing I forgot to ask earlier is with COVID and everything, even though it looks like we're, kind of getting back to the normal way of things, I'm sure that this past year and a half throughout your 3-4 year real estate, it's been a little bit different with the pandemic. And I've kind of heard mixed reviews, but more of them have had, success with short-term rentals with COVID. So kind of a 2-part question there, kind of what you're looking to do the back 9 of 2021 here, and then also just kind of like how COVID and everything has affected the Airbnb and short-term rental industry.
I love it, brother. Which one do you want me to go first?
Let's go with it. We'll end on the goals and intentions moving forward. We can talk just about how like the pandemic and quarantine and everything has affected short-term rentals.
Awesome. Man, April of 2020 was just probably the worst, but the best year, right? What it did is, I think we were under 60% down in sales. And the reason for that is we did not apply the principle that I know now, right? And that is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Majority of my portfolio was apartments within the same area, right? And I would say I had about 35 at the time, right? Maybe 30 in about 4 houses. So my houses increased in income by 100 to 200%, where my apartments decreased in income by about 50 to 60, maybe 70% for months. And this is where, boom, I'm talking about all of a sudden we're 0% occupied, 0.8 at the beginning of the month when we were 50 before, right? And all of a sudden I'm forking thousands of dollars out of pocket. So it can bite you big time if you focus on certain areas. So what we've done now is we discovered that the house single family residential is much better in the sense that you have half of the reservations, half of the work, and you have about 4 to 5x the income. But if you do the math, you're making $500 to $1,000 an apartment, 1 to 2 bedroom, right? And then you're doing $2, $3, $5, $8,000 in cash flow in these houses. Okay, and that's 8 times 12. That's 96. I'm talking about we have 6-figure houses that do 6 figures in net cash flow a year right now, over 5 of them. Okay, that's where the real income is, and that's where we're pivoting. And I'm not talking about mansions. I'm not talking about $500,000 houses. These are regular, just single-family residential, median-priced houses, but with strategic points and additions on pricing, booking, design amenities XYZ, right? Which creates just a little bit more cash up front, very little, but I'm not talking about $200,000 more, right? So COVID took us down big time, but I spent about 18-hour days for about a month to maybe a month and a half figuring out what I needed to do to survive. Okay, so I survived, and then I revived, and I stayed very, very steady. So our sales were like about to be 70 grand in March. They went down to 37. So the beginning was 37, okay, and then everybody canceled, and they went down back to 37, right? So it was up and down. We were projected to do 70. Then April, I did like 29, 30. So that's another $50,000 I lost. And then steadily we were at 65 or 70, all summer. I think May was like 52. So I went from 52 to 152 from May to May, right? And it was all through this housing strategy. So we stayed steady through all the way till the end of the year. And then December, January, February, we just started going up the hill, right? So that's how the whole pandemic rolled out. I lost a lot of money, but I gained the most valuable thing, which is my lessons, my experience, and that you never lose, you just learn.
Love it. Love it. It's funny how life works. You have a little bit of a reoccurring theme there with the principle of not putting all your eggs in one basket, because that kind of happened to you back in the day with the nightclub with the 410 grand.
Yep. Twice.
Yeah. Love it, man. Well, dude.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Well, hey, like you said,
cool.
It costs a lot of money, but the best learning experience.
Yeah. And this is what the big, learn from this, guys. It's get with a coach. They have to be me. There are a lot of coaches out there, but there are only a few that have gone through the ups and downs like I have, right? Mm-hmm. So get with somebody that has done it. So if you're wanting to scale, and just listen.
Mm-hmm. Love it, man.
That's my recommendation.
Love it, man. Well, you guys have everything you need in the description here in the show notes to connect with George. Check out his YouTube. I'm sure he has amazing stuff on there. I'm going to check it out myself included, but would love to hear just your final words, man. We've learned some lessons, a lot of inspiration, a lot of things to be impressed about on your journey thus far, which is getting started. How old are you? I didn't ask before we went live. Actually,
I turned 36 about 6 months ago. So
36.
Wait,
okay.
No, I'm about to be 37. So
37
yeah,
on August 6th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool, man. And what's the family, wife, kids, anything like that? What's the family dynamic? I should ask this towards the beginning of the interview here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Girlfriend, and she is my right hand, and we're best friends, partners, and we have an amazing relationship. And we travel together to the conference, and we travel together. We're going to, Miami this weekend to shoot our business spotlight with my coach and his team, Ray Perez. So we do everything together, right? So great relationship, and it's unlike I've never had before, and it's because I bettered myself and I became the person I've always been wanting to become, right?
Love it, man. Very, very wise words and encouraging and awesome to hear that, man. That's amazing. I'd love to hear, just to close this thing out and put a bow on it, man, any last words of advice and kind of what you're looking to do here at the back end of the year? We know you got your birthday coming up in August, going to Miami with the girlfriend to shoot some stuff here, but kind of what are your goals, intentions for the rest of the year and just kind of life and business moving forward?
Absolutely. So we've got 3 goals, and I stick to 3 every year now. And this is, because of my hyper focus, right? So to be able to really get things done, you have to focus, right? Everyone knows that, and most people don't focus. I still have a hard time focusing, but goal number 1 is to get 100 students by the end of the year. Okay. Goal number 2 is to do 500 in revenue for that business. And goal number 3 is to do 21 houses for 2021, which I think we're going to crush all of them.
Love it.
So we're about 70% on all of them already, which is amazing, right? So we've got a lot of students. Well, not 70%, 30 plus the ones from before. So about 50% there. But those are the 3 goals, right? And to close this out, the first thing is I wanted to thank you for having me in your podcast, Carlos. Much appreciated. And you guys check out, InvestorFuse, check out Carlos. He's putting out great content out there and providing value to you guys. So learn a little bit. shoot him a message, right? Try out the software. Yeah, amazing software. And also, my encouragement to everybody out there is to just keep going no matter what. Believe, first of all, and fall in love with the journey. Like, right? You're going to have troubles no matter what, because we're entrepreneurs. That's what we do, right? And you could have a really bad week and a good week next week. And as long as you stay consistent with working towards that goal, and you focus on three things, right? Focus on three things. Number one is purpose. Number two is growth. And number three is the process, the journey, right? And it doesn't matter that you don't have any money right now or you're struggling with money, right? Focus on those three things and everything behind them, and you will achieve your goals without even realizing it. That's what it's been for me.
Love it, man. Could not have said it better myself, man. Appreciate the way you choose to live your life, man. Very inspirational. Guys, please check out George if you have any interest whatsoever, even the slightest interest in anything short-term rental. He's going to be a great option for you guys to check out. Genuinely wants to help people. So thank yourself for checking out this episode. Definitely hit the show notes for everything, George, and we'll catch you on the next episode, guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
Bye.